self-discipline without fear. I asked a client of mine, uh, what would it look like if you had self-discipline without fear? And she found this to be quite profound, something she had never thought of. For her, she had always motivated herself with fear. It's like, I better do this or else, right? So it's like, I better do my taxes or else I'm going to go to jail. I better pay my bills, otherwise I'm going to lose my stuff. And many of us are living that way where we're motivated in life by fear. So I want to give you the story of the two generals. And so in this ancient country, they at this during this certain period of time, they had their army split directly in half because they had two very skilled generals, but these two generals had opposing ideologies. One of the generals' ideology that he taught his troops was if you don't do it, you're dead. So it's better to kill or be killed. If you don't kill them, they're going to kill you, essentially. Um, and so his troops then were motivated to go out and defeat their enemies so that they didn't themselves lose their lives. Whereas on the other hand, the other general would use a more positivity sort of collaborative approach. And he would say, we can do anything together. We can do anything together. So on one hand, you have the if we don't do it, we're dead. And on the other hand, you have the we can do it together. We can do anything together. Well, these two armies would have different results due to their different approaches. But the army that had the hey, kill or be killed, if we don't do it, they're going to kill us first. They tend to make more attacks. And as a result, they made more kills. And this on paper looked good. They were racking up more kills than the more positive army. So they're like, hey, if we don't kill the enemy, they're going to kill us. So they would launch many attacks. But there came a time when the enemy forces, the enemy nation, came in, did a swift operation, and they extracted the two generals. So they kidnapped these two generals. So when the army woke up the next morning, both of these armies realized that both of their generals were gone. Now, originally the plan was if one of the generals died, the other would take over the other's army. But with both generals gone, the two armies didn't know exactly what to do or who they should follow. So the each army decided to go with their ideology that they had been taught. The first army had been taught that we have to kill or be killed, but the enemy nation was not threatening to kill them. They had just taken the general. The positivity army had been taught we can do anything together. So they formed a coalition and built a plan. They started to plot out how they would go in and extract the kidnapped general. Well, the other army that had more of the fear-based thinking was in fear that if they went in and did this operation, they would die. And so off went the positivity army, believing that they could do anything, and they successfully extracted these two generals and brought them back to safety. They saved both generals. When the negativity general asked his army why they didn't come and save him, his army said, because we were afraid that we would die. And in that moment, the general realized he had always motivated his army with a fear of death. And so when it came time for them to perform an operation like this, the fear of death is, of course, going to keep them from moving forward, from saving a fellow soldier or even their general. Whereas the other army was not motivated by fear. They're motivated by an ideology that they could do anything. They're motivated by success, by possibility, by strength. And so we have these two ideologies that exist for us as well. You can think of yourself or your body as your army, and you, your conscious mind, as being the general. And how do you tend to motivate your troops? Even as a leader in your life, when you're dealing with your family, how do you tend to motivate? Is it fear of punishment, fear of what will happen if people don't do what they're supposed to do, what they're told to do? Or do you tend to motivate using positivity? If you're anything like my client was, you may default to motivating using fear, right? If I don't clean up my house, I'm going to get bugs. Someone's going to come and they're going to see it. As a result, you only clean up your house when somebody's coming over, right? So we want to be able to have discipline, self-discipline, and motivation without fear. But what would that even look like? Do you know? Because if you're the type of person who has always moved forward in fear, then it can be perplexing to even try to figure out what what's going to motivate you to move forward without the fear, right? So what do you do to motivate yourself? What most people do is they tell themselves, you better not call off for work today. Otherwise, you're going to end up homeless and then you're going to be on the street and then you're going to have nothing. A lot of people will admit that fear actually is how they've achieved anything in life. And that's why it's hard to let go of that strategy. The reason why they've gotten through college is because of fear. You may feel like, oh, I got to do laundry, otherwise, I'm not going to have anything to wear. But what happens with this strategy is over time, it actually stops working. Have you noticed that? The negative motivators have limited success and benefit over time. So over time, the negative motivators stop working, and then you're really stuck. And so you beat yourself harder. You fool, you moron! Come on, you got to do this. If you don't get this done, do you realize what's going to happen? Your world's going to fall apart. Everything's going to fall apart. Do you want to be homeless? Do you have that fear of ending up homeless? That's a common motivator for people who are fear based in their thinking. So, how are we supposed to structure this? How are we supposed to have discipline or motivation without fear? Well, we'll need to default to the 85-15% rule of thumb. We should be 85% motivated by love, positive thinking, thinking in terms of what's beneficial, and only 15% motivated by fear. Only 15% motivated by fear. So, 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 yeah, there are negative conclusions or outcomes that happen in life. And yeah, it can be okay sometimes to recognize, oh, I would like to avoid that negative outcome and to use that as the impetus to move forward or to move from the right to the left. That can be okay 15% of the time, but you should only be guided 15% by the fear, right? Because it can be helpful. It can be helpful. Just like eating fat can be good, but you don't eat more than 15% fat, right? You don't just eat majority fat, right? You want to make sure that your what do we call food again? Your not appetite. Why did I lose the term for it? Oh, your diet. Yeah, you want to make sure your diet is balanced. And so balance means that the amount of fat that you're eating is not the majority of what you eat. It's a small percentage, but it's good in small percentages. So you're having a little fat, doctors say in the morning, for instance, eating fat a little bit, right? A little bit is going to help you to have more energy, be able to think more clearly throughout the day. Okay, good. So we don't have to be black and white and say that we can't have any fat ever. And likewise, we don't have to say, well, I can't ever be motivated by by a negative outcome. It's okay. It's okay. We can be motivated by occasionally the negative outcome. So occasionally we got to say to ourselves, hey, if I don't get my act together, negative outcome is going to happen. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to get fired from this job if I don't get my act together. That's fine occasionally. But 85% needs to be what? We need to be motivated by love, which is purpose, or focusing on what is beneficial. That's what love really is. It's focusing on what's beneficial for said target. So we want to be mainly driven by positivity, love, purpose, what is beneficial, what is beneficial. How much? 85%. How much is that really? That's most of the time. It's nearly 90% of the time. 90% of the time. 90 out of 100% of your thoughts and the way you talk to yourself needs to be motivating yourself with positivity. How do you do this? How do you do this? Well, you want to be the cool parent. You want to be the cool parent. How does a cool parent motivate a kid? Right? Because most parents, I don't know how you grew up, but a lot of parents like to use those negative motivators. If you don't get straight A's, if you don't bring in straight A's into this house, you're getting a whooping. That's not how we want to do it. So how do we be the cool parent, still guide the children? Instead of you better get A's or I'm going to whoop you, or you better clean up your room or I'm going to beat you. It's better to say, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see you bring in straight A's on your report card. I believe you're capable of it. Yeah, you're just as smart as any of the kids that you go to school with. There's no reason you couldn't bring in very high marks. I would love to see straight A's. Actually, that would please me very much. So I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. If you bring straight A's in next semester, I'll buy you that dollhouse or get you that skateboard. Even just even just the potential that it would please you for many children is a very strong motivator, right? Because children naturally want to please their parents. So we're operating instead of 85% fear. I got to get my kid to do this or to not do that because they need to have fear. We're normally in the positives. We're saying, hey, you know what I'd like to see? I'd love to see you socializing more in school. Hey, this, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see this room more neat, kept more neat. I'd like to see you take a day of the week and organize your belongings. You know, I'd like to see you start doing your own laundry, right? You're telling them the same things, you're guiding them the same direction, but you're using positive motivators. Why is that so important? But with the negativity motivators, all you're doing is causing your kid anxiety and depression. You realize that. If you don't get the good grades, I'm going to whoop you. With some kids, you're going to get the good grades and some you're not, no matter what. So the highly anxious children, you might get the results, but they're going to have anxiety as a result, lifelong chronic anxiety, because you're teaching them to be motivated by fear, and already they're motivated. They're frightened of what's going to happen to them. Imagine every day of their life they have to go to school with this fear. Every single assignment, they're in fear of what's going to happen. You're just teaching their system to be run on anxiety. If they can't do it, then and you've taught them to be depressed because what you set for them was too hard anyway, and as a result, they'll be like, This is, I can't avoid negative outcomes. And believing that they don't have agency over their life will lead to depression. This is not a maybe. This is just the science of it. If we get more than 15% rainfall, like if it's the rain is just falling more than 15% of the time, we could get erosion, soil erosion, increased flooding. We need the rain we want the rain. We don't want the rain most of the time. We just want a little rain, right? Ideally, a little sprinkle here and there, right? So we have to keep the negative motivators minimal. We have to keep the negative motivators minimal. So it's okay to occasionally point out to the children in an educational manner, hey, listen, if you do this, this is what could happen. Just so you know, it's okay to use a negative motivator, but only 15% of the time, a good parent is using positivity to motivate the child. I believe in you. Here's what I would like to see because I believe in you. Here's how we can reward you for doing good. So how do you translate that to yourself? There is virtually no difference. Exactly the way you talk to a child is how you should speak to yourself. The way you talk to a child that you love is how you should speak to yourself. So instead of, let's say you want to motivate yourself to go to the gym, how can we use positivity motivation rather than fear-based motivation? How can we have positivity self-discipline instead of fear-based self-discipline? Instead of saying, you lazy, ugly, fat, or too skinny piece of such and such and so, you maggot, look at you eating potato chips again. You need to get up off of that couch and do something with yourself. Ugh, I'm disgusted by what I see in the mirror. Right? Does that motivate you to go to the gym? I'm disgusted. You are disgusting. It's going to lose its potency. It's really going to lead to more anxiety and depression. It does. After a certain while, you start realizing it's not getting you up off the couch. So you have to learn to motivate with positivity. How do you do it? Okay, Roman said, same way that I would talk to my kid. How would I talk to my kid? Okay, talk to yourself that way. All right. You know what? I love my body. It's beautiful. And I want it to last. And I want to feel good. And if I go to the gym and I exercise, it's going to make my body strong. It's going to give it good challenges so that I get the best performance from my body. And I want to have that. I want to have a high performing body, an apparatus that is optimized. It would feel so good to be coming back from the gym, knowing that it took that 30 minutes, just 30 minutes. That's okay. We're just going to go there, we'll walk around, maybe do some floor exercises. Nothing crazy today, right? We're using positivity. We're negotiating. That's what I'm doing there. Same way I would with a kid. Hey, I'll tell you what. You can have up to three B's on the report card. I'll tell you what. You don't have to vacuum, but just clean the stuff. Pick your clothes up off of the floor. We negotiate. But we're using positivity. Here's what I'd like to see. I believe in you. I could do this. I could go to the gym for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, that's nothing. All right. Can you see how that's more motivating to go to the gym? I love myself. I love my body. I love how I would feel. And then what happens? We create the motivation through momentum. Because isn't it true you're motivated to do things that you do often? If you've been binge watching a show, you're motivated to keep watching your show. But if you've been going to the gym, you're motivated to keep going to the gym. This is just the way motivation works. In fact, you might not be motivated to lift anything until you get to the gym, which is why you got to do that negotiation with the self and say, hey, you know what? Let me just get there. Let me just get inside of the gym. And I might not do anything, but let me get, because when you're there, what will happen? You develop momentum. The momentum creates the motivation. You start looking around and people are sweating and you hear the clinging of the weights and stuff's looking good. And you're just like, you know what? I'm already here. I might as well just pick up a dumbbell and just do a couple reps. Next thing you know, you're sweating it out. You get a whole workout in. But you don't tell yourself ahead of time, I'm going to go there. It's going to be really hard. I'm going to be sweaty. No, 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 no. We negotiate with ourselves. We use positive motivators. I'm going to feel good when I come home. And what happens? The momentum begins because what you wake up that next morning and you're like, do I have a trust? Start seeing little cuts. I'm like, oh, look at that. Wow, this really does pay off. And now what do you feel? More motivation to keep doing the good, positive activity that you're doing. And that can be with our work. We have reports and things that we got to create for work and just work to do. You do the same thing. You use the positive motivators. Then you negotiate with the self and you create momentum. And that's where your motivation comes from. Hey, you know what I would like to see? You know what I believe I could do? I'll bet I could. And then you, okay, what is your wager? I'll bet I could get this thing started. Just get it started tonight before I go to bed. And I'm not going to work on it, but I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to open my word processor and pull up the research materials so it's ready for me in the morning. And what's going to happen as soon as you pull it up and you got your research materials out? Maybe 8 times out of 10, you're going to keep going. Oh, let me just see this. Let me start looking into this because we work on momentum. That's the type of beings we are. It's our job to hack the system. This is especially so if you're dealing with ADHD. It's a momentum thing. It's a momentum thing. We gravitate towards what we're interested in, and we can't be interested in something that we're not even doing. It's not even in front of us. You have to get yourself parked in front of the problem, the issue, and then you will begin to solve the problem, the issue. But if you just got your phone in front of you, then there's never a moment where you can see the actual things that you need to be working on. So we put the phone down for a minute to create the space, a void of boredom. And then we put in front of us, instead of the phone, we put the work in front of us. Let's say it's washing the dishes. And then you go, oh, now that I'm standing in front of the sink, I've made myself stand here. I feel motivated to wash these dishes for some reason. I don't know why. Why is this motivation coming over me? Because you've put yourself in front of the problem. That's an ADHD technique, how you overcome that. Oh, I can't seem to wash my dishes. That's because you got this thing in front of you. If you just put the thing that you're currently hyper focused on down, you create the void, the space of boredom, and then you put yourself in front of the issue that you would like to solve physically. The mental takes over and you suddenly can hyper focus on the dishes. Just don't go too far into the dishes. You'll have every dish in the cabinet rewashed because that's how we hyper focus when we have that ADHD, right? But we can use positive motivators. So think about how you might motivate yourself when it comes to getting yourself just to do basic things like to take a shower. How could you positively motivate yourself to take a shower? What you're going to do instead of, oh, if I don't do this, no, 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 no. Take a minute and imagine how you will feel when your body is clean, getting out of that shower and getting into some nice clean sheets and making sure that your nice clean sheets don't get ruined because your body's so nice and clean. Is that a great feeling? So as you contemplate that feeling, what do you start feeling motivated to do? To go take a shower. Where's the negative reinforcement? I didn't have to use it. How did I do that? I brought myself to what the positive outcome would be. I started thinking about the benefit, how it would feel good. By bringing myself there, I'm already visualizing it, which creates momentum. The visualization is creating momentum for the brain because the subconscious thinks we're already doing it. How can you use that for cleaning your kitchen? You got to get your kitchen clean. Well, for one, you can just put yourself there, stand yourself in the kitchen, but you can also meditate. Take a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself, man, how would it feel if I wake up in the morning and see all the counters clear and they're clean, where I could just set food down, everything's like good to go. Oh, that would feel so good. I want my counters clean. Why is there all this junk on the counters? And now, you got the motivation, you've got the discipline to do the thing that seems so difficult, that seems so hard, that seemed out of reach. Instead of, well, if I don't brush my teeth, I'm going to get a cavity, I'm going to lose my teeth, and I have to be going to the dentist to feel motivated to brush your teeth. No, think about it for a minute. Contemplate. How would I feel? How would I feel if I had teeth that didn't have the fuzz on it? Don't I like that feeling when I don't have the fuzz? I love the feeling without the fuzz, when my teeth are just nice and clean and I don't feel self-conscious about my breath. You know what? I think I'll take a minute before I leave today and I'll brush my teeth. The positive motivators are going to have you doing the things that you know you should do and that you've always wanted to do. And they continue to work. They're sustainable, unlike negative motivators. We can only use negative motivators to 15% for it to be sustainable. If you stay in 85% positivity, 90% positivity motivators, this will have a positive impact on your mental health. You will not develop depression and anxiety as a result of the way that you're speaking to yourself. Instead, you're going to get increased creativity, inspiration, innovation, resilience, better relationships, and productivity. Again, if you use positivity motivators, thinking about what's beneficial, love, purpose, success is motivating you. Instead of negativity motivators, it will increase your creativity. Because it's great to be a doctor, but it's fulfilling to advance medicine. We need you to get into your creativity so that you can fulfill your potential as a human. If you're stifling your creativity, you might be really good at following orders, but not good at having your own space and will and mind to create. Every human has potential for creativity, innovation, invention. And we need all the humans in that mind state. It makes life better. Imagine what the world would be like if all the humans were in their creativity, innovation, invention mind state. It would be 20 times farther than where we are as a society. That's facts. So it wakes up your creativity, gives you more inspiration, and it strengthens your resilience, because we do better when we face a problem, when we have that default of positivity rather than negativity.